Hi, neighbor. Welcome to Theater and Dance Today. I'm your host, Professor Derek. Appalachian Young Peoples Theater is a component of the Appalachian Department of Theater and Dance, and they take their shows all over North Carolina to various schools, museums, and libraries. The AYPT, or Appalachian Young Peoples Theater, is dedicated to bringing high-quality and affordable live theater performances to young audiences. This year, Appalachian Young Peoples Theater is proud to present The Ugly Duckling by Larry and Vivian Snipes. And here with me today to talk about the show is L.J. Faircloth, who is a junior theater education major and one of the leading players. He plays the Ugly Duckling himself. And also Joseph Perdue, who is a theater education major and a sophomore, and he's the tour manager. So thank you both, gentlemen, for coming along with the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
There we go. Now, you guys said you were excited to be on the show. You got to speak up, right?
Yes, sir.
Here's the interesting thing. You've been on tour for a few weeks now.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you're back on campus. It's not your real opening. It's an opening on campus, but you've opened already.
Yeah.
What is that like?
Definitely different considering we opened midsummer and we were here. We opened at a different school, and we've been touring this show around the Watauga County school system, and now we're bringing it here for our peers to evaluate and our peers to see. And it's pretty exciting, very nerve-wracking, because we've been performing it for children from kindergarten through 6th grade, but now we're doing it for adults and our peers.
Well, that leads to my next question, which is, what's an average college student going to see if they come to Ugly Duckling, say, on Friday night?
A type of theater done in a way that they haven't seen before. Because I think the way that it's done with the slides and projections is very interesting, and like I had never seen anything like it. So I think it'll be like a different take on theater for people to see this.
Yeah, because the world is not only us; we interact with the world of the projections. So it's just something very different. Because not only are we reacting and interacting with our castmates, but we're interacting with the slides. So it's really cool.
So we did research on like the type of lumens we needed, so we purchased a projector. And so the slides are like put on the projector, and then as we transition, they're slid off and on, and character slides are added on. And so just like you create the world of this play as it's going, and it just changes, and the characters or the actors who are on stage go with it, and when they go off, their character slide comes on. So it's like there's always the character's always there.
So how have the kids reacted to this so far?
Wow, it's been so great because it's a story that everyone needs to know, and most people have experienced it. You know, the stories about feeling lost and how to overcome being lost. There's this one spot where Casey, she's like, has anyone ever been lost before? Anyone ever felt alone? And you just see the entire auditorium of kids, just hands shoot up.
Oh, wow.
And it's just so cool, because that's like one of those real good moments where we connect with the kids, and the kids connect with our story.
So we've been talking about the acting. Let's talk a little bit about the other component to a tour, which is getting people on the van, getting the van to the right place at the right time. How's that been? What's entailed in being a tour manager for a production like this?
So during the rehearsal process, it's fairly not easy, but I created like a study guide for students to look at, where they like get discussion questions about like before the show, and then like to reflect on the show afterwards. So it's like creating that and getting that turned in to Teresa to like send it out to schools, but then doing van training and stuff. And then once we start, it's our schedule, like this is when you guys need to be here, this is when we're leaving, making a laundry schedule, contacting the schools, be like, hey, we're still good to come tomorrow, stuff like that. So it's just like getting everything situated, and then like the whole driving the van aspect is very like it was different. It's a lot different than driving a car. So it's just like letting them know, like, hey, I'm going to come to a stop here, because it's going to be a different stop than if I was just driving a car.
And he also has a giant trailer on the back of it. So
Right.
not only,
Yeah.
not only is he driving a van, but he's driving a van that also has something else the size of a van.
This is the real glamour end of show business, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So another thing that was interesting to me, now you are going to have to modify your show for a college audience and adults. What is that going to be like? Have you thought about that in rehearsal, or have you discussed it? Obviously, Teresa Lee, who's the director, the professor who runs the program in the class, obviously must have talked to you, but what steps do we take?
Right. So we've had to modify it a couple times in the shows that we've been doing on tour because our initial idea is I come in from a certain area and we have to adjust that based off of where can I come in. and I interact with the kids in certain scenes or certain speeches that I have, and I interact with them in a way of asking them a question and helping them and guiding them in the answer that I need to continue. But here, it's just, I think we're going to have to fill it out and feel if we want to do it as if we are doing it for children, or if we want to do it as if they're college students and just continue on without asking those questions.
Yeah.
So instead of me saying, what can I do, I could just jump that and just go ahead and say, I can swim, and things like that. So that's something I'll have to figure out on that fly.
But
so
now you guys were saying this too, that after you close on campus, you're back out again for one last tour?
Yeah, one last time to go out and
do the same
kill
thing.
it.
Interesting. So, you know, for the average college student, a show back-to-back like this, the show is how long?
About 45 minutes to an hour. It just depends on how long we want to take on certain situations.
So what's that like then, doing two shows back-to-back with two different audiences with like an hour drive in between?
Joe has been very great at keeping us pumped up and being like, you're going to kill it, you're going to do good. And so it's been really exciting because we have this, you know, we have somebody who's there lifting us up and making sure, like, yeah, you got it. 2 shows, easy.
It's easy to tell, like, in between shows, like, especially if it's like we do one show right after another.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, I could tell if their energy like wasn't there in the first show, so I'm like, hey, you know, we got to pick it up, you know, keep it going. Just I'll get them to do like, you know, shaking their bodies and stuff for warm-ups and stuff like that. Just getting them warmed up. Especially like when they were sick, it was just like take care of your body, but also you got to have that energy to get through the show and like to make it a good show.
Yeah.
Well, one nice question. Let me zing you both because you're both wanting to be theater educators and also, you know, teaching K-12.
Right.
How has this experience enhanced, you know, the stuff you're going to bring? How's it changed things, or do you have a different idea now of what you're going to do, or a different perspective?
The warm-ups that we did in the rehearsal process, along with the audition process, have given me a lot of very valuable activities that I can utilize. And that goes into how do we go about creating this character? How do we try to develop our duck forms? You know, do we want to have a different posture for each duck? Do I want to go out there and squat? And those are things that that would help me like teach students about like their bodies and how they could form and things they could do. Along with the way I project myself, I have a different voice for Hans. I have a different voice for the Ugly Duckling, and then I have a different voice for when he gets older. So that's a good tactic that I can utilize when teaching my students about their voices.
Very, very interesting. It sounds like a really interesting show. So there you have it, guys. You can see the Ugly Duckling on campus in IG Greer Theater from April 26th through the 28th. It's general admission tickets priced at $5. For more information on the show, you can find it online on the following link below. That's all we have for you this week. For Theater and Dance Today, I'm your host, Professor Derek, and we will see you at the theater.